guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now, as you can probably see, we are back in the Megane again, and the good news is we finally have a solution for the absolutely toss excuse for a Renault shifter. So since the last video, Matt's put a sports cat on the car, so it's freed up a little bit of noise, which is nice, makes a pleasant change because it was so quiet before. And we fitted the 0-point shifter. So what's it like to drive with? Well, straight away, it's incredible compared to the stock shifter, which is absolutely disgusting. So I'm pleased to report that if you own one of these and you love everything about it, except for the shifter, it's definitely worth installing. Now, there is the competition, which is the CAE shifter. We'd heard that there were some negative reviews on those compared to this one. So Matt went with the 0-point shifter with the Alcantara surround as well, which really ties in nicely with the sort of look of the car, with the Alcantara gator on the handbrake and obviously the steering wheel in suede as well. So yeah, it really finishes the car off. It looks super aggressive, and I can honestly say it's the only time I'm going to be happy to report I've enjoyed having something big and black in my hands for the day. So it really wakens the gear feel up. It just feels so precise. I wouldn't say it's at the level of the Honda S2000, which for me still goes down as the best shifter in a manual car I've ever driven. I'm not saying there's not better out there, but personally for me, that shifter was incredible. Now, if you're someone who likes shifting aggressively but sort of sloppy, this is probably not going to be for you in that respect, because it is very precise and you do need to be very sort of particular with how you shift. And I'm not saying you're going to shift slower, but that it's just you need to think about it, because if you just try and ram it in a gear like the stock shifter allows, it's not for that sort of driving. But if you're a driving enthusiast, this is definitely worth installing. Now, as we've also said, Matt's put the sports cat on the car, which has made a massive difference to the sound. It pops and bangs loads now. So we'll go for a little run through some twisties, and finally a proper shift. God, what a bit of kit. Absolutely brilliant. And like I say, if they'd have done this out the factory, dare I say it, I might have liked a Megane. All right, let's not get carried away. They're not that keen on them. But if you've got one of these and you're looking for the upgrade, God, what a difference. The only thing I would say is it's maybe a little bit too high. It could do with maybe being 2 or 3 inches lower, but for actual improvement over the stock one, rather than being down there to shift gear, God. And the noise now, God. A little bit of a bumpy road here today we're on, but yeah, absolutely brilliant. Really chuffed with that. Now, fitting wise, it's fiddly more than anything. I wouldn't say it's difficult. The guys at 0-point do a guide which they included, which is really good. The hardest part is removing all the center console, more for access and trying to get the sort of mini iDrive connections undone. But once you've got that out, it's just a case of trimming the surround so that the new shifter fits, and then any mess that's left behind from the trimming is covered by this, like I say, this little Alcantara insert. So if you're going to return the car back to standard, it could potentially be an issue. You're going to need a new center console. The good news is it appears to just be a generic Renault item. It's not specialist to the Renault Sport. So if you are going to do it, it's probably worth visiting a breakers potentially, obviously, to have an original one to fit back to the car. Now, again, let's go for another run. Oh, yes. Renault, why didn't you do this at the beginning? God, just absolutely beautiful. Now, it's also got some points of adjustment on it as well. When it comes out the box, it's sort of ready to go, but there are some small grub screws down here, so you can sort of finalise where you want the positions to be for accurately to go over sort of for first, and then obviously on the other side of the gator into 5th and 6th, and then obviously setting up reverse. And like I say, we had it all from a standard car on the driveway fitted in about 2 hours, so not horrifically long. And like I say, it wasn't anything specialist we had to do. It was more just the mucking about trying to get this whole one-piece center console out, which wasn't terrible because there's only a couple of screws, but like I say, it was just getting to the connections and I didn't want to damage anything, so we took our time with it. Other than the Dremlin on the sort of standard surround, that's the only modification you need to make. Everything else can be converted back to a standard car. So we'll talk about the sports cat Matt's fitted as well. And as I said in the first video, it was so quiet. You could hear it on the video, but actually driving it inside the car is really dull. And if you can hear it now, the pops and bangs that come off of it, it sounds really pucker, like an old school rally car. Really enjoying it. The only thing, like I say, it is still a Renault, so you're not going to get in it and be blown away by the engine sound. The F4R has never been a particularly great sounding motor on the turbo front for me, but for a 4-pot, it sounds really good. So the question is it worth buying one of these shifters? And I think Matt said it came in at about £800–900, so it is expensive. If it's something you're buying just for a car you're going to have for a couple of months and potentially sell or trade in because you just want to tick it off the list, it's probably not worth the outlay. It's a lot of money, but the good news is it'll always be worth that money to some extent, even on the used market. If you're buying one of these to keep as a long-termer, or you're happy to spend a bit of money on it, definitely. I mean, it really is a game changer. As you probably saw in the first video, the stock shifter is disgusting. It really is horrible. And I don't know how they got it so wrong, because the rest of the car, like I say, is a really good little package. The Öhlins, the titanium Akrapovic exhaust, sounds lovely. But the shift just, oh, no. So yeah, overall, 10 out of 10 for the kit. I guess the only negatives I'm going to put on there are everyone who looks at it, who's an enthusiast, is what a bit of kit. Get a non-car person in there and they're like, what on earth is that coming out of your centre console? So if you take work colleagues out or anything like that aren't car people, like I've got quite a lot of car people in my circles that aren't into cars, they're probably going to be quite thrown off by what on earth it is coming out the centre console. But like I say, for the payoff for that brilliant gearbox feel, and I've only been driving it for 10 minutes, and straight away you can feel how much better it is. I really would like to push it on some back roads and get a proper use out of it rather than this short review. So yeah, time will tell, Matt will report back, but other than that, no rattles at all. If you've seen the Pure Motorsport kit that I've got in the Clio, which is a fabulous bit of kit for the feel, but Jesus Christ does it make some rattles, and it just sounds horrible. I couldn't daily the Clio, which Matt's in at the moment, but this, you could drive it every day. Just, such a satisfying shift. And back on. I say the handling on this car with the Öhlins and the 4S tyres, what a peach. Oh, that shifter has just changed it so much. I wonder if Renault will ever make a gearbox that feels semi-decent. Now obviously this shifter is a great bit of kit, but you have got to remember you've still got a Renault gearbox in there, and history has taught me with Renaults that they're not great gearboxes for the strength as well. If you're someone who likes smashing a gearbox to bits, you're probably better off with a Honda, because they just seem to take no end of abuse, whereas Renaults, I have seen boxes explode. But with this kit, if you're just looking for a better feel, I wouldn't say necessarily a faster shift, because you can still shift fast in the standard one, but a better feel, it is definitely worth upgrading. So fitting wise, like I say, it's just a case of pulling all the centre console out, undoing the original shifter, popping the cables off. It's more fiddly than it is difficult. If you're impatient with taking things apart and you're known to break plastic trims, take it to someone who knows what they're doing. I'm not saying it's a difficult job, but you've got to get your hands into the clips, line the cables up. It's not a difficult job, but if you get impatient, you're going to cost yourself some money breaking plastic fixings. So as always guys, if you enjoyed the little clip of the 0-point shifter, make sure you give us a like and a subscribe. I'm sure Matt will be taking this on more adventures, as we are going to try and get to Wales in the cars, so should be interesting.